What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media, bringing the Ravens content every single day. And we are back. If you didn't know, I was in New York for week one. I just got back last night. So I'm going to try and make, as many videos as possible, kind of talking about that Jets game week one. The first thing that I wanted to talk about was the Ravens defensive line because they looked unbelievable. But let me know in the comment section down below what you want to hear from me about that game. Joshua and I will definitely try and get together, have a preview podcast episode to put out for this, week two matchup against the Miami Dolphins, the home opener. But starting off, let me know what you guys think about that Ravens defensive line, because if, when I was watching that game, it was unbelievable. It was so unlike everything that we have seen from the Ravens over the last few seasons, where it's just like, and that's not just talking about the interior. It was like, wow, we're getting pressure. And I understand. Okay. I understand the Jets were missing their starting tackles, but the edge pressure wasn't the thing that was dominating them. The thing that was killing the Jets was Michael Pierce and Justin Madubuike up the middle. Both of them ended up in the top 10 of PFF's defensive lineman grades. They both, I think Madubuike and Pierce were actually top 5 or top 6 at least, I believe. And they're right around a 90 PFF grade because they were just a dominant force. And that's where the Jets offensive line, that's where they spend their money. Laken Tomlinson's making around $16 million a year. They drafted Elijah Vera Tucker a couple of years ago in the first round. This was an interior offensive line where it was like, okay, they're not terrible. The tackles were obviously going to be very bad, but the Ravens were destroying that interior. All right. And if you look at the stats, half a sack for Madubuike, 1 sack. I think it was half a sack actually for wow, I can't believe that Michael Pierce didn't actually get a sack because how dominant he was. I mean, every time the Jets were trying to run the ball, and this is a run-first offense. This is a clear run-first offense. They have Michael Carter. They have Breece Hall. And I think both of them played very well. Michael Carter, I'm a big fan of his. He's the RB1 right now there. And Breece Hall, obviously the first running back taken in this previous NFL draft. But they went out there and they were struggling, mightily. Now, first couple of plays, they were able to do pretty well, but it was very clear that they are struggling to run the football because the Ravens defensive line was just smothering them. And also you got to give a shout out to Patrick Queen. He was hitting the holes as well, but this is what we needed to see. The expectations, Joshua and I were talking about, what do we need to see from the Ravens? What do we want to see? What do we hope we see? One of the biggest things was, how does that defensive line play? Because we are missing our edge rushers. But we have Travis Jones. He'll be coming back from injury hopefully soon. And then we have Michael Pierce, who we spent big money on. We have Justin Madubuike. How are they going to be able to perform? Can we get that interior push that we really haven't been getting with Brandon Williams and Madubuike over the last couple of years? And obviously, Madubuike, the hope is he can, progress to that next level. It looks like maybe he's taken that next step and he can become that, interior pressure creating defensive lineman in passing situations. He is no longer just a guy out there on the field playing. He becomes a threat to the opposing quarterbacks. He was chasing after Flacco. He was forcing him out of the pocket. There were so many plays where it was just interior pressure. Flacco has to roll out. And Flacco on the run, 1, he's not a great thrower on the run. And 2, he's not very fast. So, Calais was able to get the sack. Calais was able to force the intentional grounding. There were just so many situations. Joe Flacco threw up that pass to a Garrett Wilson, and Garrett Wilson ended up making a heck of a play, juking out Kyle Hamilton. Ended up being like 5-6 inches short of the first down marker. But that all came from that interior pressure. That all came from the pressure being created from that defensive line. And the Ravens were doing it without the blitz. They were getting pressure without the blitz. And I understand that this is not the best offensive line in football. But I swear over the last couple of seasons, even when it was against bad offensive lines, the 4-man pressure was not getting through. It wasn't getting through. No matter who it was. It could have been Zach Wilson. It could have been Mac Jones. It could have been any quarterback that you may not think is a great quarterback, right? They were just sitting in the pocket all day long, and then eventually they throw it up. And then the Ravens have to blitz. That leaves poor coverage. The Ravens were being able to sit in a situation where, hey, they can rush 4, and their defense can cover. And this was without Marcus Peters. Obviously, we're going to be out without Kyle Fuller for the rest of the year. But there were also some blitzes thrown in. And it was like, wow, the defense looked really good. Because when the blitzes came, it wasn't like, oh, yeah, they're going to blitz. Because the Ravens always blitz. It was like, oh, wow, they're four-man pressure, four-man pressure, four-man pressure, four-man pressure. Patrick Queen up the middle. And you're like, wow, we got it. Mike McDonald, I think, called a really good game. And I think overall it was able to be run the way it was. The defense was able to be run the way it was because of how well that defensive line was playing. Because if the Ravens weren't getting that pressure, I mean, whenever the Ravens didn't get that pressure, think about it. Joe Flacco was playing pretty well. He was hitting some guys over the middle, 20 yards. Corey Davis, he was making some plays when he had time. But that's the key, when he had time. Because when you're going up against the elite quarterbacks, right? Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady. When they have time, they are going to destroy you. How do you beat those quarterbacks? Look at Thursday Night Football last week, Matthew Stafford. Don't give him time. Matthew Stafford was very uncomfortable. He couldn't get plays off. He looked bad. That is how you win those games against those high-powered offenses, because it's not going to be a 3-14 win, or a 24-9 win like the Ravens just had. They're going to be high scoring. Ravens versus Bills is going to be high scoring. Ravens versus Chiefs, that's going to be high scoring. It comes down to who can make the opposing quarterback more uncomfortable in more situations to where they get 2 stops. They get 3 stops. They get that 1 stop towards the end of the game because of a pressure that forced an inaccurate pass, or it got a sack, or it got an intentional grounding. Those are the small things that the Ravens defense has been struggling with over the last couple of years with that 4-man pressure. This is a great sign. I'm not saying they have the best D-line in the NFL. It's a great sign that it could be pretty solid, because we didn't have Travis Jones. So I think that was the biggest thing that I wanted to talk about after this game. Obviously, there's a ton of things to go over. I think the Ravens played very well. I think they went off to a slow start, but that's expected. It was in the rain. The weather was really weird. Obviously playing on 9/11, very, very emotional to start the game. And it's also the first game of the season. A lot of the Ravens starters didn't play in the preseason, Lamar and Bateman and, a lot of the defensive players, the veterans. They didn't get to play. And it was the first quarter, first half, took a little bit, and then it was like, all right, here we go. Let's get it going. Let's roll. And they started to look very good. And they started to look like the team that we hope they can become. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys thought about the defensive line play. But I thought it was a great sign. Great sign for the Baltimore Ravens that they were able to get that interior pressure, because they weren't going up against the backup interior linemen. They were going up against the guys that got extended and drafted very highly. And they had high expectations for them. And Madubuike and Pierce and even Broderick Washington, they were getting the best of them. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe for daily Ravens content, and I will see all of you again tomorrow.